Trump has been doing stuff like he's been crazy, right? There's been so much stuff happening between what he's been doing with internationally with these countries, trying to work out deals, and what he's got Elon doing domestically and going through our departments. It seems like it's just constant news and constant updates. Panama will allow its participation in the CCP's Belt and Road Initiative to expire. Donald Trump says, today I've implemented a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada. Mexico will immediately reinforce the northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan. In addition, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. And so it was just like on Saturday, at some point, Trump's like, tariffs. Everyone's freaking out. On Monday, everyone's just like, hey, fine. Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your Congressman Frank, the third most popular candidate to ever be. Along with me as always.
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Bean, bringing you the frijoles negros. We survived another whiskey riot, tasting event, barely, but we did it. All right. So, our last episode, second half of it, we're talking about the Trump Act in Florida. Sometime when you and I were guzzling booze down our gullets, somebody started making hay about it. I think Dana Lash, who is still with the NRA, maybe not. I don't know. She used to be part of the Blaze. I know she has her own show now, but she started hating on the Florida Republicans who passed this through, and some other people did too, in sort of that conservative ecosphere. And so when I woke up the next morning, there was a lot of people talking about it. And all of a sudden, the Twitters had gotten some attention. The X had gotten some attention. You know, being a teenager in the 90s, it's just hard to hear X and not think about ecstasy, the drug.
Oh, I was thinking DMX.
Oh, well, X is going to bring it to you. That's true. Oh.
Rough Riders.
That's hell of a song. Poor fella. Just couldn't shake that addiction. What was he into? Was it heroin that he was into? Or was it
crack.
Crack? Oh, I know the other crack too. I just thought it was a little twofer. Oh, Coolio, like the hair on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, we talked about the Trump Act in good detail. Now some other people have begun talking about it in incomparable detail, which good on them for reading it later than we did. But the unfortunate thing is, we laughed our way through it, being like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, And so I take the kid to his thing, and I'm sitting there having a beer, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, the House just voted to approve it? The Senate just voted to approve it? And so that's what happened. The House and the Senate, Wilton has more pull. They are turning on DeSantis quickly, which the Florida media is celebrating. If you're a left-wing person, perhaps you run floridapolitics.com, and you have not been a big fan of DeSantis. And so when the Republicans begin to eat their own, you celebrate it. You celebrate all but that one Republican that voted no. And so they're celebrating. It's a horrible act. I mean, Democrats did not vote for it. And Democrats should not be happy if this passes. You want to have both a governor, you're going to have a Republican governor, but then now you're going to have a Republican commissioner of agriculture who can do whatever he wants with illegals at any time, it's not good. You don't want a two-headed dragon. This is not good. So after it passes, hasn't been signed into law. But the Trump team reaches out. And so they go, hey, this is not anything that I want. I want, we want to have people, we want increased felony charges. We want all this stuff. And so all the stuff that DeSantis was kind of talking about in his press conferences that it didn't have, the Trump team said, you better put that in there. And they said, you got it. You got it. You know, if you're going to call it the Trump Act, you need to do all these things. And so I saw that and I thought, well, that's going to be difficult now, because like that is some of what DeSantis publicly has said that his opposition is that it doesn't have these different tough on illegal immigrant stances, which now it does, with the only catch being it's still Wilton Simpson, Commissioner of Agriculture, who wields the power, the lone power, and is the only person, I said it last week, but the only person who's allowed to talk to the federal government about our illegal immigrant situation here, right? And, you know, even if you're an open borders person who thinks like, hey, free flow of goods and labor is the best for everybody, or if you just say, I don't know, whatever. I don't feel like on the Democrat side that when they go the open borders route, I don't think they're talking about it from like a libertarian sort of economic sense of free flow of goods and services. You know, it seems more like, oh, these people, you know, let them in. Which we can't pay for everybody. We offer too many services to just support the entire globe. We can't do it. But anyway, even if you're for that, you shouldn't want this other guy. Like, you know, this one guy who can say yes or no. Like, what? It'll be good if it's a guy that's in the pocket of big sugar. You know, it'll be good if that guy's like, yeah, come on. It's pretty much a sanctuary state now because I want Big Sugar and some of these other cats, maybe the orange cats, to be able to have illegal aliens working there. The construction lobby, obviously, they enjoy some illegal alien help. And so there's, you know, money to be paid. And so, but what if you get the next guy? What if you get the next guy's, what's his name? Tom Holman or whatever, the head of ICE and all that kind of stuff for Trump right now, the bulldog. Like, what if that guy gets in? Then it's just like, you know, you have this king with infinite power that just can't be checked by the governor. You know, just it's a bad thing, you know. Well, so anyway, so Wilton Simpson still has that authority in this bill. It has not been signed. And so I wondered, is DeSantis going to kind of roll over because he's going to lose, you know, Trump says, I want these policies. I don't think he ultimately cares who's in charge of enforcing them, as long as it's ultimately him, you know, as long as his people go in. I think the reality is, if it is the Commissioner of Agriculture, you'll get a blockade, you know, you'll get a blockade for it. So I wondered how this would go. Well, DeSantis is still fighting against it, which is still the correct move. I mean, you don't want to expand powers that are given to the executive branch and expand them to the regulatory state. It's like it just you don't want that. It gets worse when you go that direction. As bad as it is for the executive to have a certain power, to put it into, I don't know, like the regulatory state that strangles us all today with the EPA, Department of Education, just all the regulators out there like that get to create rules. And like, granted, the commissioner is elected, but it's just barely better than it being an unelected bureaucrat, you know, that gets to do these things. So, let's see. So, Governor DeSantis is blasting the Florida legislature over it again. Let's see what it got to say. And it gives a little background. Oh, one thing I didn't realize that this thing said. So, apparently when DeSantis called a special session, the Florida House or the Florida Congress said, no, it's not time for a special session. And so they said, no. Then they go, but we call our own special session. So that's how this thing happened. I was wondering what this was because I saw this like blockade about it. But let's see. Earlier this month, DeSantis called a special session asking lawmakers to consider several proposals: immigration, hurricane relief, condo fee reform. This is a big one. The condo rules that they passed are stupid, and people are losing their homes over it. We got through our inspections and we did good. Luckily, good to a certain extent. Our condo dues are going to approach doubling which is everybody. Everyone's facing like dues doubling, special assessments like crazy. People are having to sell their condos. Elderly people who are living in these 55 and up condo towers, getting a $50,000 assessment. They go, well, I got to sell my condo to pay the assessment. Otherwise I'm going to foreclose, And so lots of people are losing their homes because in Miami, they're so damn corrupt that they allowed people to use bad cement, bad concrete to build this tower that couldn't hold up to the sea. And the building inspectors, all the inspectors that come by all the time, there's so many inspectors all the time. No one felt like saying anything about the swimming pool dripping into the parking garage. Like all the things that happened with that, was it Surfside?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because I know that's the name of that tea drink now, so I didn't know if I was just confusing it. But yeah, like there was lots of failures. It wasn't just because the condo tower was cheap, and the condo tower was cheap. Don't get me wrong. That's a problem. You got to fix that. But it failed on lots of levels, and I'm sure there was some corruption involved. Anyway, so instead of getting to have a special session to address that horrible law that got passed and undo it before all these old people lose their homes, and like not old people, but a lot of people lose their homes. Instead, they, what was it? The governing proposals. When legislature met this past Monday, however, both the Florida House and Senate rebuked DeSantis and quickly ended the special session, instead deciding to convene their own session. So they said, "Your session's over. Our session begins." And so, like,
All this session swinging.
yeah, I know. It's great. I imagine that if the governor calls it, then he gets to dictate the agenda. And if the House and Senate declare it, then they dictate the agenda. Is I imagine how it goes. And so, anyway, Trump Act passes. Let's see. DeSantis immediately criticized the bill, using adjectives as weak and pathetic in a series of roundtables. In his view, it left holes preventing those who were undocumented from registering to vote, which is true. We went over that. It was too soft on those who commit crime, which they did adjust that because of Trump. And we're spoiling the state's executive power by making the Commissioner of Agriculture the chief immigration officer. Fact check true. Who the hell do they think they are to say they need a mother may I from the Commissioner of freaking Agriculture? I can appreciate the sentiment. All right. So he said, weaken Florida's fight against illegal immigration. He insisted this bill is an effort to go soft because special interests, sugar, like farmers, sugar, depend on cheap labor of those who are undocumented. They created a piece of legislation that not only didn't answer the call and help deliver on the mandate that we have for American people, they did things that are going to make it worse, combat illegal immigration. Let's see. But DeSantis says it has not been sent to his desk to sign or veto, which is interesting. He says, if this is good legislation, why have they not sent me the bill yet to act on? He also bet that because the bill hasn't been officially sent to him, the legislature seems worried about the governor vetoing it in front of a crowd of people who might applaud that veto. Where's my thing here? So that's kind of what he's saying. And, he's not wrong on that. And that was my whole thing. I'm like, well, politically, you don't want to veto the Trump Act and like with all the immigration stuff he wants in there. And just be like, well, let's try and pass it again. Because, if you got all these vindictive cats who aren't happy about it, they go, we're not going to bring it up for a vote again. That was a chance. You vetoed it. Sorry. And like they're beginning to lash out. What's this guy? The speaker, Daniel Perez, was saying that basically DeSantis threatens them, like get on board or you can get primaried type of thing, which is, I know that's supposed to sound nasty, but that's kind of how they all do it. All the power people, that's how they say it. They go, I got so much money in my war chest, like I will handpick the person who's going to primary you, and I'm going to fundraise for that guy, and then you're going to have to spend your war chest, blah, blah, blah. This is a very normal thing. But, they're starting to throw that out there, leaking to the press, terms like petty tyrant and things like that. And so you go, all right, I guess this fight continues. just to reiterate, though, like, this is a bad bill. Like, you don't want to give this weird, like, the Department of Agriculture, to give them executive powers all of a sudden. Like, it's one thing to diminish executive powers so that someone like a commissioner has more equal footing, close to it, but there's a hierarchy of how all these systems are made, and the chief executive of a state is the governor, and that's kind of how you want to. You don't have two chief executives. All right, so Wilton Simpson was interviewed on Wink, by this nice young lady who, I don't know. We'll see. She really did a good job of editing her questions to make it look like she's good at doing things like this. I will see if, well, I don't know. I'll give it a shot here.
Why do you believe your colleagues designated
No
you
full
and your
screen?
office to
No
be
full
in
screen.
charge of immigration?
First of all, the department has the infrastructure to be able to do this. Through my ag law units, we're already working.
All right. First of all, that is a backdrop.
Is that him?
That's him. That's Wilton. That is Wilton. Red flag law Wilton. All right. That's a backdrop.
He's high in the trees right now.
Yeah. Like, just open a window.
The sheriffs were already working with the federal government. We have many connections. We're already on the front lines at the interdiction stations. We have 20-something interdiction stations around
20-something of the interdictions.
We are the first ones that you see when you come in. We are.
Hey, Charlie, you ever seen their interdiction statements for agriculture when you come in?
I have no idea what that is, honestly.
I imagine they're just talking about weigh stations and checking the trucks.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we're the first people you see. I've never seen the Department of Agriculture anything.
We're stopping traffic every day, making
Every
sure that
day.
it's safe for the state of Florida.
What will Florida look like with you in charge of immigration policy? How will that work?
What you will see is grants that would come through our department that will help supply beds to be able to house illegals before we can deport them. You will see efforts to help law enforcement commingle with themselves across county lines.
We're going to have the beds. Once we have the beds, we're going to get the law enforcements to commingles in the beds. It'll be a lot of commingling with one another with grants.
A liaison with the federal government. You will see a very aggressive Department of Agriculture. We have
I'm sure it will be.
Record with this governor's help, and this, I think.
Look at the corner, it just says Wilton.
It's kind of hard to imagine that we've gotten in this place.
The governor has posted about you on social media saying it would be the fox guarding the hen house, quote, because of the...
The last name is Galt. Like Galt. But this whole, I think, like, will be a very aggressive Department of Agriculture. Yeah, because you'll have a crazy, like, military arm. Like, you're not supposed to have that. Like, yeah, that'll be an aggressive Department of Agriculture. You're right about that. Anyway, he tries to get a little sweet in there. Be like, oh, with the help of the governor. I think he's trying to be like, I think his pitch at this point is, I'm a good Trump Republican for Florida, but I don't do these partisan showmanship things. We're just working for the people.
Agriculture industry's affinity for cheap illegal labor. What is your response to that?
My response would mirror, President Trump has a deputy chief that's come out and said that's just absolutely not true. Less than 5% of all the illegal aliens in this country, the entire country, work in agriculture. I am not only...
Real quick. He's got it. Donald Trump has a deputy chief of something that says it's not true. Yeah, good enough for me. Less than 5% work in agriculture. Yeah, that's nationwide. What about in Florida? And also, like, right, a lot of them are in construction. That pays better. But what percentage of the staff of agriculture is illegal alien? At least, well, anyway.
Commissioner of Agriculture, but I've been raised in my life in agriculture, and I'm going to stand here and the governor. I can take all the governor wants to dish out, but I hope
you're sitting
that he will step back and say what are we doing here?
What is the end here? Do you believe both sides will compromise? Is there a world where you believe Governor DeSantis will accept you being border czar?
Here's the reality of it. The legislature and the governor have put us in this position, right? I'm not writing the bill irrespective of what,
irrespective.
Fact, this is between the legislature and the governor.
Mm-hmm.
The Department of Agriculture as scapegoat is about as low of a thing as you could do when you have such a strong agriculture in this state.
Okay, first of all, no. It is not as low as you can do. You can do real low. Okay. I had nothing to do with this. I don't even know why they even picked me. I was just like, oh my God, they picked me to be the head of this big new agency with big budget and stuff. And I don't even know how it happened. Really, you got to talk to the legislature. They're to blame. Like, does anybody believe this? Does anybody believe that he was just like, oh, totally in the dark on this? Oh, they picked me? I didn't have input. I would have been like, yes, but I didn't even have input. He's trying to do that. Like, he thinks it's a good idea. It wasn't his idea.
So he's admitting to being a puppet? I mean,
he's just like, look, it's the legislature and the governor put us in this position. They're just fighting with one another. I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm being scapegoated as the guy that wants to be in charge just because I went from Senate president to being in the Department of Agriculture, because the last guy that was the commissioner of agriculture looked like he was a surefire bet to be governor. But nothing about that. Wilton Simpson's a turd. He's a turd. He's a turd.
He's a man of the trees, apparently.
He's a man of the trees. He wants to commingle with them. He wants some grants to commingle with the trees and the beds.
He did not set himself up with the steps of mentionings.
Oh, I haven't heard him speak. I've read his words more than I've heard him speak, And surely the state won't vote for that guy, right? I mean, surely. It's just tough, That was the thing. Like, when he won Commissioner of Agriculture, and I did not vote for him. I was sitting there. I was just like, nothing's in the way. He's gonna be president. He's gonna be governor now. It's like, great. Like, red flag, old red flag boy. So anyway, excuse me. Both Wilton and Miss Claire Galt, they could stand getting better with their audio quality if they're going to do these Zoom interviews. Claire looked like she did the old, the show, like the Barbara Walters show, where they have, the cross angle thing. And so the host gets to practice instead of just being like, all right, so what do you think of this? They go, and they get to do a bunch of takes. But wouldn't it mean this? And just interject questions whenever you want, edit it. So it looked like Claire was doing a bit of that. Anyway, all that to say, I don't know. Just step up the quality, guys. Step up the quality. Let's be professional. All right, so that fight goes on. We don't know how it's going to... I mean, DeSantis says he's going to veto it. I guess tweet from Anna Paulina Luna said she saw that there's a version 2.0 being worked on right now that looks a lot better than version 1. I imagine that means there's not a Wilton army.
Yeah. Is it cheaper?
I asked her that. That was my reply. It's like, do we still spend $500 million to create a new law enforcement agency? And no reply. All right. So that's a little update on that. On the national side of things, Trump has been doing stuff like he's been crazy, right? There's been so much stuff happening between what he's been doing internationally with these countries, trying to work out deals, and what he's got Elon doing domestically and going through our departments. It seems like it's just constant news and constant updates. Part of it, I think, is just he spent a lot of time. He spent 4 years preparing. And so he's got his stuff in a row. It's like, all right, let's go ahead and get these things done. Doge is only going to be around for, was it 2.5 years or 1.5 years, whatever it is. And I guess it'll be 1776. So it'll be summer of 1.5. Some next summer, because this will be the anniversary, our 200th birthday, or what? Is that right? 250. 250. But and so yeah, Elon's getting to work, and Trump's getting to work, and so to be clear, I am not a fan of tariffs being used. I get it to a certain degree with China because China does currency manipulation, and I can understand being like, hey, if you're going to manipulate the currency to make things cheaper than they actually are because you're playing a game, like we can drag it back up to what it would be if you weren't using slaves and manipulating your currency. But even then, at the end of the day, tariffs hurt, all sides really. But, it's the customer that ends up paying it. So Walmart, a lot of stuff from China, So if you increase tariffs by 10%, in China, the stuff at Walmart, when it comes in, will be up at least 10%. It'll probably be marked up, so it might be more like 15%. So then when you get like the broke people buying the cheap stuff out of necessity, well, now maybe they can't buy as much, And one can make an argument that some of that cheap food that they buy is killing them and is poison. And maybe they should look at some vegetables. And people, this is totally off topic, but eating healthy is so expensive. It's like, well, it's not. I mean, it's if you buy the vegetables in a smart way and you cook them in a way where you can have it for a couple of meals or, a couple meals as in the whole family, it can, the cost per serving can get fairly low, It's just people that go, well, I don't know. You have to buy, you buy a steak and you buy this and you buy this and it's all for yourself. Well, it's all for yourself. Well, eat it in multiple. Don't throw it out, whatever you don't, and don't eat it all. Like just eat a normal amount of food and then eat it again as leftovers. But anyway, all that to be saying, to say that I'm not one that likes tariffs. Okay. Well, Trump been BG, and I'm gonna show you how. So this was. We're going to go early. This was January 28th. Oh, I forgot. I got this in the wrong thing. We're not going to listen to him because I put it in the wrong window. But basically, this is the chairman of the Federal Maritime Commission. Of course, he's your favorite commissioner, Charlie. Well, the trading card that you got. But he basically said, well, let me just, yeah. All right. So this guy was just basically saying that China is controlling the Panama Canal, and that that violates the canal treaty that they set, right? And Trump, I think I bounced around this in a weird way. Hold on one second. Does this have Mexico, Canada? Well, either way, early on when Trump was talking about Greenland and talking about Alaska or Greenland and Canada and Panama, he's like, maybe we should take it. Maybe it'll be ours. We discussed this. We go, well, it's probably some sort of negotiating thing. But he was like, yeah, China controls it. And everyone's like, China doesn't control it. That's crazy. So Marco Rubio, this is yesterday, tweets, yesterday's announcement by President Jose Raul Molino that Panama will allow its participation in the CCP's Belt and Road Initiative to expire is a great step forward for the U.S.-Panama relations, a free Panama Canal, and another example of how POTUS leadership to protect our national security and deliver prosperity for the American people. So this dude comes out, and he goes, all right, we're out. And the Belt and Road Initiative is a big Chinese initiative. It's a multi-pronged, multifaceted kind of economic, both strategy for their own future. It's basically a strategy for global domination, and so, and this other person, we don't need to jump to it, but I don't know if this is true, but someone was on Twitter said part of the deal was that they no longer are going to charge U.S. Navy ships to go through the canal, which has cost America between $2.5 and $3 million, I guess, each year to move Navy ships through. So they canceled contracts with China that they weren't fully under contract. It was they had it's like the precursor to a contract where it's like a notice of understanding or whatever the hell, memorandum of understanding, one of these things. And so they go, all right, well, we'll just cancel those. And we're going to basically let America in. And we go, oh, like, holy cow, that was quick, you know? So, like, on the 28th of January is when that maritime commissioner was just like, listen, Panama's not acting right. You know, Trump's been in office for a couple of weeks, like at that point, 1 week. And he's just like, we're going to take the Panama Canal back. And here we are, it's 2 weeks later, and Panama's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. We're kicking China out. America's back. You go, oh, okay. So that was one thing that came out like on Sunday. You go, really? Panama Canal? Okay. And so then, come on over here. I am going to arrange my stuff different here. All right, so this is a tweet from February 1st. He said, Donald Trump says, today I've implemented a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, 10% on Canadian energy, and 10% tariff on China. This was done through the International Emergency Economic Powers Act because of the major threat of illegal aliens and deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl. We need to protect American citizens, and it is my duty as president to ensure the safety of all. I made a promise in my campaign, All right, so part of that, mentioning the fentanyl and the illegal aliens, that act he talks about, there's limits to a president being able to put on tariffs. Congress can put on tariffs. For a president to put on tariffs, there has to be some sort of emergency and like specific kinds. So he's kind of playing wild and loose with it, where he's like, fentanyl is an emergency. You know, the immigration is an emergency and you need to fix it. But at the same time, he's not just negotiating about that. He's negotiating about economic things, which is not emergency, you know? So you can't say, I'm going to hit you with 30% tariffs unless you let American banks into Canada, because Canada does not allow American banks to operate there. Also, that was February 1st. And then you see President of Mexico. She did this whole big statement. I guess she categorically rejected the White House's slander against the Mexican government of having alliances with criminal organizations, as well as any intention of intervention in our territory. And then she's like, hey, the U.S. is always running weapons down here. If anybody's involved with the cartels, it's the U.S., which, I mean, but
not wrong.
Yeah, she said in 4 months they've seized more than 40 tons of drugs, including 20 million doses of fentanyl. And then she kind of starts talking smack, like, why don't you clean up crime on your street, stop all the drug dealers that are like selling drugs and laundering money on your streets. And she's like, look, we don't want confrontation, but like basically she's kind of tough, saying, hey, you know, you go to hell. And so like on February 1st, she's really tough, saying, hey, we're not going to deal with this kind of stuff. And then February 3rd here, she says, we had a good conversation with President Trump and a great respect for our relationship and sovereignty. We reached a series of agreements. She did this in Spanish. I'm using the Twitter Translate. Mexico will immediately reinforce the northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the United States, particularly fentanyl. The U.S. is committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. It's like, okay. Our teams will begin working today on two fronts, security and trade. And they're pausing. And the tariffs are paused for 30 days. So this thing, Trump said, all right, they're paused for 30 days. Not they're canceled. Not that we're not going to do it. He goes, we'll readdress after. We'll check it out for 30 days.
Like, let's see what you can do in 30 days.
Yeah, it's like talking a big game. What are you going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
But how are we going to stop running guns into Mexico?
We'll get to that later. But no, it's interesting how quickly, because February 1st. And the thing is, when he announced these tariffs on Mexico and Canada, all like the crypto markets were kind of crashing because it was the only market open, and people were like, tariffs, that's going to ruin everything. Just dump, sell, 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 sell. And then come February 3rd, that's fixed. It's just like, oh, yeah, we're good now. Just come yesterday. Oh, we're fine. It's like, oh, that's crazy. And I don't know. The cartels are announcing that they're going to be using drones and stuff and popping some people at the border. So it's going to be kind of tough. Let's see. We'll get to this fella. Here, let me get my little headpiece in. So, Justin Trudeau, everyone's favorite world leader. Did you switch this over?
No.
Oh, okay. I saw you click a button.
That's flagging it.
You would flag it. Speaking of flaggets. Okay. Go ahead, Justin Trudeau.
Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
Okay.
This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time.
Okay, real quick though. Do you think we bring in more stuff from Canada or send more stuff to Canada?
We send more stuff.
I imagine we do. And it's one of those things like he's saying, like, we're going to raise the prices on all the goods on all of our citizens by at least 25%. Take that, America. Like this is the game being played.
Time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives. Like the American tariffs, our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items.
He seems tough,
such
doesn't
as
he?
American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume.
Real quick, you gotta love the Canadians. He's like, it's beer, it's wine, it's bourbon. It's like, and it's orange juice. It's like, I don't know what's going on in Canada, but I know what they like. They're like, they're gonna take our whiskey and our beer and not our orange juice. I like a nice glass of OJ.
Clothing and shoes.
Choose.
It'll include major consumer products like household appliances, furniture, and sports equipment.
Yeah, we know it.
And materials like
Hockey
lumber
pucks?
and plastics, along with much, much more.
Right. You're taxing the hell
And
out
as
of
part
everybody.
of our response, we are considering, with the provinces and territories, several non-tariff measures, including some relating to critical minerals, energy, procurement, and other partnerships. We will stand
I don't know
strong
what that means.
for Canada. We will stand strong to ensure our countries continue to be the best neighbors in the world.
All right. So everybody immediately started dunking like, damn, like Canada's going to just buy local. The stores put stickers up immediately. This is made in Canada. This is made in Canada. There's some stupid video going around that this stupid kind of pseudo-libertarian guy was posting. This guy has figured out making money on Twitter. His name's Josh Equal or something like that. I can't imagine he believes all the stuff he puts out there, but everybody gets so fired up, pissed off. So I think he might be a great, somewhat left-wing troll that is, he puts stuff out there and then just ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's all true, but like I just watched a couple things. I'm like, I don't know. This can't be just like a guy that claims to be libertarian, even on the kind of left side of the flank. Like I think he knows what he's doing because his engagement has to be just through the roof. But anyway, so we don't need the guy. So he came out like that. He's coming out strong. Oh yeah. So but that guy posted a video, and it was this grocery store guy or liquor store guy taking all these American bottles off the shelf, putting it back in the box. And it's like, hey, those are already imported. Why don't you sell those at normal prices? Let people buy them. You don't have to pay tariffs on them. You already imported them. But it was this dunk. It was just like, Canada's going to hold so strong. This Susan Holt, I forget, she's the premier of New Brunswick. She said, in an act that will devastate New Brunswick and American workers, businesses, and the economy, Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on Canadian goods beginning February 4th. This is on February 1st. It's time for Canada to stand strong and united against the threat of tariffs. I've just met with my fellow premiers and the Prime Minister, and Team Canada is prepared to hit back with a forceful response. Our team will use every tool in our toolbox to defend and support New Brunswickers. New Brunswickers, and put an end to these tariffs. It's now more important than ever to build up our economy, buy local, and get to work seizing the opportunity we have across New Brunswick and our country. So it's like, damn, they're in for the fight. And then February 3rd, 2 days later, at 4:30 p.m., this is Justin Trudeau on his tweet, I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan. They always had it, Charlie. They were going to do it. Reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar and will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I have also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl and will be backing it with $200 million. Proposed tariffs will be paused for at least 30 days while we work together. So that was quick. Everybody's freaking out over the whole weekend and into Monday, where it's like these tariffs, these are gonna be nuts. Like, because, just to stress it, like today's Tuesday, so was the first, that was Saturday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it was just like on Saturday, at some point, Trump's like, tariffs. Everyone's freaking out.
He just wakes up and says it.
Yeah, he's like, tariffs, psh, magic wand. And then everyone's like, this is a mess. Like, he's screwing everything up. He's killing everything. And then come Monday, it'll be all right. But come Monday, everyone's just like, all right, fine. Like, how weird is it? We're the only nation, I think, that asks our neighboring nations to put their troops on our border. We're like, hey, we got 10,000 troops on the north, 10,000 troops on the south, on their side of it. But it's like, hey, put your military on the border. Most countries don't like that. We're like, yeah, do it. I mean, we're not really worried about an invasion or anything. Could you imagine trying to invade Texas? Like, California might be all right. Well, no, because they got to go through San Diego to, get anywhere. So it would be, you do wonder about that. Like, it would be horrible to have a war in our soil, especially contemporary war, where it's not a bunch of people, it's bombs and things dropping from the sky. It'd be terrible, of course. But if someone tried to put a bunch of troops on the ground, it's hard to figure out a way for them to really enter the country where you don't have to go through just tons of like good old boys and gangsters with guns. It's just, I think it'd be wild. I think it'd be hillbillies and bloods just popping people and having a good time. It would bring true unity to this nation.
It's the weirdest thing.
We'd all be holding hands and just shooting the heads off of Ruskies or whatever they are. And we're just like, yay, la la la, America. Maybe that's what we need. That's what we need to come together, is everybody just hold hands and decide, you know what we all hate? Those people. And they're in our neighborhood. Let's kill them. All right. But so these things happen fast. It's like, tariffs are up. Oh my God, in the world, less than 48 hours later, it's like, okay, tariffs are gone. Don't worry about it. And we're going to have better border enforcement and fentanyl control, which the real way, of course, to stem the flow of drugs in this nation is to legalize them, because then you bankrupt the drug cartel the drug aspect of it. I think a lot of them have diversified. I think one of them gotten into avocados.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure cartels have some sort of avocado involvement. And avocados are delightful. And, you know.
It also would give them a stronghold on water, too. Because you need a ton of water to grow avocados.
That's true. But I think when you're not in California, I think it just kind of comes out of the ground. Mexico, they're like, avocado is good. But, so that happens, right? So you sit there, you go, this was me, like on I guess on Sunday. Like I was catching up on news, you know, because on Saturday, of course, we were shoveling whiskey down our gullets, and the world did things apparently while we were gone. And but I was walking in, talking to the lady. I'm like, so like Mexico's going to put 10,000 troops on the border to try and stop illegals and drug trafficking, and Canada's going to put 10,000 troops on the border to try and stop drug trafficking and illegals, and Panama Canal says they're kicking out China basically, and we're going to take over. And it's just like, that's what?
Like over the weekend.
Yeah, what the hell just happened? But that's not all. Oh yeah, that's probably what I want to go to. This is a nice article. This actually has good images here, so we'll do this. Look at that. Look at old Marco and Naib. I think that's how you pronounce his name. That's the president of El Salvador. And okay, I'll just get into this. So Marco Rubio went to visit Salvadorian President Nayib Bukele. I was talking about how he transformed El Salvador. They went from having 6,656 homicides in 2015 to having 114 last year. This dude, I always say, like, this guy's either going to go down as one of the best leaders, definitely of El Salvador, but of, you know, South and Central America, except for Javier Milei will always be better. He's either going to go down as one of the best, or he's going to be a dictator that's still in charge in a while and become a big problem. But he took over. He took over for these gangs. He shut down these gangs, built giant prison complexes. He throws these gang members in there, and they do things that we don't do in America. But when you're like a narco state and you don't want to be a narco state anymore, it's really hard to get that done through just words of liberty. You know, like I get it. You know, like you do have to have a bit of a heavy centralized hand in order to defeat a narco state, you know, because like you need a general, you know, because it is a war at some point. The key is just letting go of that later, you know. And so far, they changed the rules to let him run for re-election one time, which they had a rule about only one term. Okay, 2 terms isn't crazy. 2 terms is what we do, you know. We'll see if after 2 terms he steps down. You know, 3 terms is still less than, let's say, Israel.
Russia.
Right. Well, yeah, but I mean, Russia's what we're trying to avoid here. So I don't know. Right now, I'm still kind of on I like him, but if 10 years from now, if he's still in power, I won't be like, man, I didn't see that coming, you know. But I hope he's not. I hope he's an awesome guy. Maybe he steps down, he retires for a couple. You know, at least play the game. You know, at least play the game. Step down, appoint your successor, and kind of whisper in the ear, do the Obama thing, you know.
I was just gonna say
Do the Obama thing. Just be like, hey, you're in charge. And then maybe, I don't know, after like 8 years, maybe you run again. Now you're older. You know, you got some gray hair. You don't have the baseball cap anymore. And you just, hey, I've grown more wisdom. I've got new ideas. You know, it's like, okay. Anyway, so Senator, he's not senator. He is Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with him, and after meeting with Bukele on Monday, Rubio indicated that the president, in an act of extraordinary friendship to our country, knowing the challenges we face in the U.S., has agreed to the most unprecedented and extraordinary agreement anywhere in the world. extra to repatriating Salvadorans found illegally dwelling in the United States, Rubio said that Bukele has agreed to accept deportation of any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be that MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails. A senior official in the Trump administration said that he would even accept American deportations of Chinese nationals. Rubio further noted that he even threw in there, like, I'll take dangerous American criminals in your jails too, which we should not do. We can't do that. If we do that, that is a huge mistake. We can't do that. But hilarious. It's a hell of an offer to make. We can't do that, but it's a hell of an offer.
Why?
Well, let me see. I think there's two things, right? One is Trump kind of did shots fired at him during the campaign, where he's like, this guy sent his criminals to the United States. That's why his murder rate went down. He's not that great. And I didn't understand why, because like pretty much a lot of people, Tucker Carlson, a lot of people on the right that like Trump, like Bukele, right? And so I was like, well, this is a weird fight to pick, because like this is a guy that's fairly supportive. You know, you'd have a friend in El Salvador. And so I think Bukele wants to have a friend in the United States. I think he doesn't want to be, if he's going to be a dictator, I think he wants to be a Netanyahu dictator and not a Gaddafi dictator. Well, Gaddafi used to be more of a Netanyahu before we said he wasn't anymore. But the guys who are backed by the United States tend to stay. They do better, you know. But there's another thing in here. Bukele clarified on X that there are some strings attached, tweeting, "We are willing to take in only convicted criminals, including convicted U.S. citizens, into our mega prison, CCOT, in exchange for a fee. The fee would be relatively low for the U.S., but significant for us, making our entire prison system sustainable." So he just pitched a price where he's like, look, we could run our whole prison system on this price. And we went, that's like one of our prisons. And that's like half of that's like a ladies' prison. He's like, yeah. You pay that? I'll take as many as you want. And it sounds like Marco Rubio was like, fine. We lose more money than that every year just in the audits, you know? So it's...
I'm wondering if there's like U.S. investors in said mega prisons.
Investors? Maybe you. Well, I don't think in... I don't think in the El Salvadorian prison system... I mean, in the American prison system, we got plenty of investors, and maybe investors get involved. I don't know if that'd be a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. Down there, probably bad.
Was it El Salvador that just discovered like a bunch of gold in their lands? I can't remember.
I mean,
they announced it, and I said that's a good way to get invaded.
I don't remember seeing that. I know Greenland has a bunch of gold, and so that was kind of part of the talk. I don't know.
I swear they discovered a substantial amount of gold.
Yeah, you can give it a little googly if you want. But I don't know. Either way, so this was another thing. This was like today, where it's just like, we go, Google it on another screen, Charlie. What are you doing to me? Get out of here. Get out of here. This is my side. Get on your side. Get on your side. Okay. Anyway. But no, there's just another thing where you go like, because on top of this, on top of, the channel, on top of the channels, on top of Mexico, on top of Canada, Rich Grenell, the first gay member of a president's staff. What'd you find? Your eyes got real big.
$3 trillion in gold.
El Salvador? Dang. Well, I guess that's why he's like, we got Bitcoin, we got gold. That's why he's so happy. He's like, guys, that's why he needs the U.S. to be friends with him. He's like, look at all this gold we got.
Why does he need the loan, though? It just doesn't add up. You got the Bitcoin, you got the gold.
Maybe he needs the loan to mine the gold. Because it's a big operation, you know. You can't just you can't just chip it out with a hammer. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I didn't look into it. Yeah, what Charlie's talking about is IMF is going to lend them, was it like 1.9 billion?
Billion?
Was it billion or trillion? Billion, I
think
think.
it's billion,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is so. We spend so much stupid money in the United States. I'm like 1.9 billion. Who even cares about that? Because I mean, think about it. Like, Doge has already gotten rid of more than that, you know. And it goes, well, we need to shave like 4 trillion, like 4 trillion. Like a billion's. I mean, it's not nothing. It's good. Saving money is good. But it's such a tiny, like we lose more money. Did you see, I don't have it pulled up for this, but you saw, we were talking about Zelensky talking to his press about how, the American media says the country has given us $170 billion. They say 170, wait, billion or million? Billion. Yeah, billion. None of these numbers make sense anymore. But it's like, we haven't gotten that. He's like, I can tell you as a president who is fighting a war, we have not gotten more than 75 billion. And some of that goes for training. Some of that goes to weapons. And so you go, so we've sent 170, 175, whatever. You've received 75. So there's $100 billion missing, which is not great when you take into account the Biden crime family and all their Burisma and what was that bank called? Oh shoot, I forget now. Being old Salty Jimmy, I did a good breakdown on all the different money laundering that was happening. That's why I was like, Biden is never going to be president. Like, look how obviously corrupt this is. Like, when we sent over just a butt ton, I think $100 billion in humanitarian aid after the coup that we funded and staged and everything. And this person who is not even allowed to go to the United States on his visa, we said it had to go to his bank, went to his bank. It disappeared immediately, bounced around, gone forever. No one can trace it. And suddenly his visa says he can come to America. $100 billion just. So that happened one time. And now we're talking about another 100 billion that went missing in Ukraine, which I'm just now making that connection where it's like, this has already happened once. This happened during the Obama years that $100 billion went missing in Ukraine. So that's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. No wonder, we're like, man, we'll fund all your prisons.
Right.
I mean, how big are they? They're the size of what, I don't know, Georgia or something? They're not big, right? I don't know. All right, so these are some international things where you go, every day you're like, what? Like Venezuela. Oh, Rich Grinnell, he went down to Venezuela, and he got these American hostages back, and everyone's like, what did you have to give up? He goes, my visit. That was it. That's all I gave him. It's like, no one from America has visited Venezuela in X number of years. I went down, I talked, and I said, give me my people back, and whatever else was said. And they go, all right, here you go. And and I think he also agreed to take back their citizens. If we kick people out, you're gonna take them back. They're like, yeah, whatever, fine. Take people, we'll take them back. I don't care. And so it was one of those things. What'd you give it? I just had to go meet them in person. And he's like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go meet with people in person and talk about what we're gonna do. And it's this in the world of politics. First of all, they're all cowards. It's ugly people Hollywood, right? So they're all acting, and you can watch them all the time, especially when they're doing the war drums. Lindsey Graham's the best, where it's like, I'm gonna get tough. Oh, I'm getting tough on you, and it's just like, all right, these people have not not done a sit up in 80 years, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna be the tough guy. At least Massey is a crazy engineer guy. He doesn't pretend to be tough, but he is strapped to the gills. His little Hollywood card, his little holiday card that he put out with all the guns. I mean, but he's an MIT guy. I don't think he doesn't. Oh, I'm gonna be so tough on them people, China. I'm gonna be tough on you, China. But I don't know. That's the thing. They do that. I'm not gonna even dignify them with a visit. It's like, okay. You can take their calls. It's like, so we're just gonna Just la 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 la, and then just wonder why things get screwy. It's like, what if what they're looking for is something very reasonable, and you go, oh wow, I didn't know. You just, yeah, that's fine actually. Yeah, we're good with that. You know, like peace is good. Peace is good. Sometimes having a nice conversation, find out what, like, where are you trying to get to? This is where we're trying to get. Oh, look, we can both get there with a little cooperation. Maybe we won't be threatening to go to war with each other all the time. All right. So while that's been going on, Elon and the Doge boys have been doing the thing. And these good old Doge boys, they've been using all sorts of fine computer technology. I don't know if you know this about computers. They can do some things.
Oh.
Yeah. So they started looking into USAID, is how everyone's saying it right now. I just call it USAID, which is the organization, not aid from the U.S., but of course, we've talked about it in the past. Charlie, what is USAID?
The CIA?
Yeah, it's literally the USAID primarily gives money to a nonprofit NGO that has something like, 7 former heads of the CIA as their board of directors. 7? Like, their board of directors is all former heads of the CIA. Which is normal.
Here's your sign.
Yeah. So they give money to that, and then they give money to wherever, right? And so that way, when you're trying to bribe people or get things done, you go, well, no one wants to see that the United States CIA just gave me $100 million. But if USAID gave old so-and-so some money, and they give it to you, well, USAID is just support. Just support. And by the way, people who don't like colonizing, you shouldn't like USAID. It's how we overthrow governments. It's how we revolutions. It's how we gin up people overthrowing governments. It's USAID. Anyway, the Doge boys got involved, and so this is Joni Ernst, who's like actually a senator or something, U.S. senator serving the people of Iowa. I think she was the one that castrated a pig or something.
Wow.
Yeah, like when she was running, I think part of like a commercial or something, she talked about growing up castrating pigs or something like that because she's a farmer. Anyway, she's not perfect by any means, but she has this little thread on different things that USAID has been funding because they don't like to open their books. All right. Despite the fact that Moroccans have been making pottery for thousands of years, USAID spent more than $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes and promotion. We paid for pottery classes in Morocco. Trade assistance to Ukraine for models and designers to take trips to New York City, London Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, and South by Southwest in Austin. We flew a bunch of people to fancy events from Ukraine. Spent $2 million promoting tourism in Lebanon, a nation the State Department warns against traveling to due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, unexploded landmines, and the risk of armed conflicts. And we're flying people there, or at least promoting going there. $1 million into, oh yeah, here's a great one. They funded nearly $1 million into batty research on coronaviruses at China's infamous Wuhan Institute of Virology, which the CIA admits was the likely source of COVID-19 in 2014, which when Fauci's pardon goes to 2014, when we started funding the COVID-19 research in Wuhan. Let's see. Spent millions of dollars to help Afghans grow crops instead of opium. I'm pretty sure we gave up on that, went back to the the result, opium poppy cultivation across the country nearly doubled. I was about to say, I know we didn't stick with that. Let's see. $20 million to create Sesame Street in Iraq. $9 million in humanitarian aid intended to feed civilians in Syria ended up in the hands of violent terrorists, including an affiliate of Al-Qaeda. All right. So those were just a fun little highlight reel of things that USAID, AID, whatever, has been funding. So yeah, Musk and the boys have been in there, and they are disrupting things, and they're canceling things, and they're doing a lot, and people are freaking out, right? let's, I put on the wrong damn thing. Whatever. Chuck Schumer is saying that it's bad. He's like, oh, they're stealing money. And, Chuck Schumer's just throwing a hissy fit. Everyone's saying that Elon Musk is stealing billions of dollars in American taxpayer dollars. It's like, he's not directing the dollars at himself. He's canceling contracts and not spending dollars. Like, he's making it so the country doesn't spend the dollars. That's not stealing anything from anyone. Yeah, I messed up with this screen. But here's, but it gets a little nastier. So this is Wired Magazine. A 25-year-old with Elon Musk ties has direct access to the federal payment system. A 25-year-old engineer named Marco Elez. They've doxed the entire crew, the entire Doge crew, who previously worked for 2 Elon Musk companies, has direct access to Treasury Department systems responsible for nearly all payments made by the U.S. government. 3 sources tell Wired. His privileges include the ability not just to read, but to write code on 2 of the most sensitive systems in the United States government, the Payment Automation Manager and Secure Payment System at the Bureau of the Fiscal Services. Housed in secure mainframe, these systems control on a granular level government payments that in their totality amount to more than 1/5 of the U.S. economy. Let's see. All right, despite that, Elon Musk says they only have read-only access. So they said they've got total access. Elon Musk goes, we have read-only access. But they've been shutting people out. Let's see. You can do anything with these privileges. I don't see. Okay. So that's kind of the summary there. Is just they're going. The new thing is like, oh my God, Doge has gotten access to personnel files, social security numbers of people, of the public. They're in the biggest payment systems. They could steal money through that. They could have access to everything. Like, they shouldn't have access to all this information. What is this? Okay. So okay, there's this team of like 7, 25-year-olds that are like Tesla, SpaceX, engineer type guys. When you hear that this Doge team that Trump ran on, that got formed through executive order, that exists, that they're getting access to lots of sensitive data, Department of Treasury, theoretically access to maybe all of the data. What are your thoughts on concerns and all that?
Read access definitely lowers my concerns. However, I feel like if Doge is going to do their job, they kind of need all access.
And before Doge, only saints worked for the government, right?
Right.
No, all the people that had this access before were anointed saints that would do no wrong.
Never.
Yeah. No one would ever embezzle money or misappropriate or look up a ex-girlfriend or something like that. That's the thing. They're trying to, and I think this is working to a degree of being like, oh my God, these people that are just these random 25-year-olds are getting access to all these personnel files. It's like, hey, all these personnel files, all these exist. All this data is out there of all of ours. And these people have been doxxed. They're at on Reddit and some of these other things. People are putting their addresses saying we should go to their houses and kick their asses. Hurt them bad, scare them. Let's no peace for these guys. They're getting doxxed left and right. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia said, our initial review of the evidence presented to us indicates that certain individuals and or groups have committed acts that appear to violate the law in targeting Doge employees. We are in contact with the FBI and other law enforcement. So FBI is now involved. These people are threatening these people so much, right? So needless to say, we know exactly who these people are. Mediaite and some of these other cats have written stuff on them. They are little geniuses. They're little Someone on Twitter put it best. They said, Elon Musk has a team of 7 25-year-old autists on Adderall working 24/7. And I think that's pretty close to being right. You know, they're that part of the spectrum where it's the superpower, you know? And so like they're there and they're writing programs. That's the other thing. They're not sitting there going like, well, Charlie Friedlander. They're writing programs to analyze stuff.
Right. It would be so inefficient for them to do that.
Of course, yeah. They're using AI and they're using a lot of AI and stuff like that. Go, hey, analyze these books real quick and let's find some problems. You know? And the Department of the Treasury, I think it was, the head of that stepped down because Elon was like, yo, let me see your book, son. And he was like, never. He's like, yeah, I've never. And he goes, yeah, well, let me see your book, son. And so he ended up, I think he got him suspended or something because he was saying, no, I'm not going to let you. So dude gets suspended. He goes, I resign. And so like the dude in charge of payments, as soon as someone's like, let me see who you've been paying. He goes, I quit. You go, you quit? Who you been paying?
Kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, I've worked here for 30 years. No one's asked to see who I've paid. It's like, really? In 30 years, you've never had to show anything. It's like, well, maybe show something. And Musk tweeted out that, like, he said that they were instructed to always approve payments, even if it was to a known fraudster or terrorist organization. And, you know, Wired or whoever goes, he didn't back that up with any information. But it's like, I mean, does anyone doubt that at all?
It's a basic if-then statement.
Yeah, it's just...
If payment coming through, say
yes. That's it. That's it. If you see payment, yes. You like it. And it's like to go like, well, he didn't offer any evidence that he's been paying terrorists or fraudsters. It goes, you go like, well, what about PPP loans? Well, yeah, there's those. You know, okay, what about all the times someone's done a dive to show that we've paid money to horrible people? It's like, well, yeah, those two. Okay. Make sure there's nothing important to come through. So this last little bit being teased, it came out that apparently Trump is currently working on the language for the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. Happy dance. Happy dance. Now the catch is he can't. Congress has to do it. A lot of Congress is going like, I don't see it happening. I don't see them having enough votes on not enough people are going to vote because you need 60 votes in the Senate. And they go, that would take Democrats voting for it too. I don't see it happening. So they're kind of trying to form this executive order in a way that kind of guts it. They've already been asking people to resign. You know, they're, we want to fire everybody, right? And I think they sent, I think it was Department of Education, where everybody that was still in their little intro time, their probationary period of hiring, they go, hey, you're going to be fired. Like, we're not holding on to anybody that's probationary. You won't be here. And like, you know, he sent that email to everybody, go respond with the word resign. You get 9 months pay and you can go find a job, or 7 months, whatever it was. Which is a hell of a deal. So far, 20,000 people have taken him up on that. It's not that many because we have so many people, but there's a lot of departments that are going to be going after, or he's going to be going after. So I imagine that number is going to grow, especially like as soon as they focus on a department, all the people there be like, it's like, what do you want to do? You want to risk like, all right, you get fired. And now what? The union is going to fight to see if they can get your job back. Like, why not take 7 months pay, find another job? You know, like that's a good deal. It's a good deal. And like, I don't know. You look at how fast things have been going so far. Like you want to bet that you're going to be the guy that stops this freight train. Just take the money. Take the money. You're not important. You know you're not important. You know you're not important to this thing. Just step down. Go somewhere else. Take the money. So we're going to see how this goes. Now, one thing I've got to say about the speed of this, like, one, there's a plan, but two, it's happening so fast that it's really hard for the media and like Democratic opposition to really lock into anything to be mad about. Right now, the USAID is what they're locking into. They're kind of, and I think they're able to, I think they're going to sink their teeth into this one. The who are these 7 guys have access to all the sensitive data? That's too much power. They shouldn't have all this data. It's not good for people's privacy, because suddenly the federal government cares about people's privacy. So yeah, do we have FISA courts still? Oh, we do. And you all vote to keep them. Okay, shut up about privacy. So I think because things are moving so fast, the tariffs are a big deal, and then all of a sudden it's resolved 2 days later. We didn't even have a work day. They didn't have a Monday night news cycle to hate on them before you go, well, I guess that worked, And a lot of things keep working out kind of well. So I think they're going to try to sink their teeth into the Doge guys and probably try to pressure these kids to step down, and Elon's gonna have to bring other people in. But I think they're gonna basically bully these kids out, or try to at least bully them out. But yeah, it's happening so fast that it's it used to be Trump said a sentence and it was a news cycle for a couple days or whatever, maybe a couple of weeks, But things started moving. He had fast news cycles. It was always a new disaster. He said something that was the newest disaster. Now I don't know. It's flying by. Things are happening, and it doesn't seem like the news media can keep up.
It might be a strategy. Maybe you realize from the first term. If we keep doing things and they're not related, they have nothing to focus on. By the time they're ready, we've moved on to something else.
No, I think so, and I think that's. I do think that it is a lesson learned from the first time. I think he is. Just saying hey, just heads down, damn the torpedoes. We're going to keep going. This is what we ran on. This is what we won on. We're going to do all the things we said we're going to do. When we said we were going to do it, they voted for it. The people are behind us. We're going to do this. And, news will pop, news will come, news will go. We'll do he's not afraid of talking to the press. He likes talking to the press. And so, yeah, I don't know. It seems like strategy to me. Well, so this whirlwind of stuff we kind of went through. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I don't know what's going to happen in the next day.
I'm sure we've missed stuff right now. I was sitting there, when I was getting things together, sometimes I go to Trump's Truth Social page. Which, let's see. I hate it when I accidentally just go to truthsocial.com because I don't have a login. Just show me. Oh no, what happened? No. Michael Jordan's son got busted for possession of cocaine. I think he's in Orlando. He's got a nice shop there. We sent him out. UCF sends him out to pick up recruits we really want to bring. It's hey, Michael Jordan's son's going to pick you up in the Bentley. I guess Netanyahu got to the White House.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, let's see. And he signed an executive order.
Benjamin.
Yeah, we'll just play this from my phone real quick. It says Trump signs executive order on UN memo on Iran. We'll do this and we'll get out of here. Let's just see what this is.
Numerous actions taken by a number of bodies of the United Nations which exhibit a deep anti-American bias. We have an executive order prepared for your attention that would withdraw the United States from the UN Human Rights Council, would withdraw the United States from the UNRWA, which is a refugee organization, and would also review American involvement in UNESCO, which has also exhibited anti-American bias. More generally, the executive order calls for a review of American involvement and funding in the UN, in light of the wild disparities in levels of funding among different countries that, as you've expressed previously,
that's what I'm talking about. It just keeps happening.
Unfair to the United States.
I think
I've always felt that the UN has tremendous potential.
Yeah.
It's not living up to that potential right now. It really isn't. Hasn't for a long time. It has. There are great hopes for it, but
get rid of it.
it's not being well run, to be honest, and they're not doing the job. A lot of these conflicts that we're working on should be settled, or at least we should have some help in settling them. We never seem to get help. That should be the primary purpose of the UN, the United Nations. And again, it's got great potential, and based on the potential, we'll continue to go along with it. But they got to get their act together.
Let's see. There's still 40 seconds. I don't know. Is there another thing that he does? I love that he signs.
Well, you got to be fair to countries that deserve
Do you have the
fairness.
permanent marker? You know,
They
the
have
big ass marker
some
you sign stuff
countries,
with?
you know, that are outliers, that are very bad, and they're being almost preferred as countries to those that do their job and are doing a good job, and they have to really. They're going to end up losing a lot of countries. They're going to end up losing their credibility. Like
All right. Well, there you go. So, breaking news. Deep. I have a feeling that we're not pulling out of the UN. That would be lovely. It'd be so awesome. You know, hey, maybe we shouldn't even be in it. But it's going to be one of those things where UN countries commit to spending a bunch of money and they, all right, well, we'll stay in. It'll be that kind of thing. Maybe pays less. Maybe, I don't know. But it'd be great to leave the UN. It'd be even better to leave NATO. But I don't know. The hits just keep coming. It's
only February.
it's only. I mean, it's 2. I mean, it's 2 weeks in a day or something. He's been president. Like, it's been a lot. And I saw someone go up. You know, Elon's moving too quick. The people are going to turn against him, and people just don't want this kind of constant action. But it's like, I don't know. He's live tweeting what he does. And it's just like, cancel a contract. And you know what's happening? It's not affecting anybody negatively. So, like, no one's negatively affected. No one cares. Keep it up. Yeah. There was other stuff USA'd pay for. I think there was a transgender opera. Mm-hmm. And then there was a musical in Ireland. There's been a lot of good stuff. Anyway, so you cannot find us at the UN. You can find us on Spotify and Rumble and the YouTubes and all that. Make sure you follow us, subscribe. It's helpful. That way you always keep up with our shows. You can follow us at Loaded Talk Show on the Twitters. That's where we do most of our stuff. And we got probably the same on Instagram, probably with our clips, Loaded Talk Show. Well, until next week, what you got for the folks?
Hang on.
It's going to be a wild ride. All right, let's get out.